We are live, sir.
We are live. All right.
We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Tuesday evening here. We're going to get started. Happy 420 with a little Toots and the Maytals, little Monkey Man. Welcome, everyone. We'll give it a couple minutes, and then we'll get going. We got a great guest tonight, and we'll talk about this hole in the ceiling. Everyone, happy Tuesday. A little Toots and the Maytals for you. So tonight we have Reid, and Reid, how do I say your last name? Genauer?
Yep, you nailed it.
All right, there you go.
But I respond to Grenadier, Genauer, Genauer, whenever.
Okay, fair enough, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining me on the channel.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's cool.
Yeah, man. So real quick, a little housekeeping. This almost didn't happen, as everyone can see behind me. That is a giant hole in the ceiling of my studio. And for those that remember, my desk used to be right there under the TV. And so if I still worked in this exact spot, my computer and everything would have been ruined. But since I've moved to the barn apartment recently, I was spared, but this room was not. I had the seal, so basically my 4-year-old flushed unflushable things on the toilet straight above.
I've witnessed that before.
Yeah, and basically it made the seal to the toilet. At first thought it was a pipe. The plumber was here like forever, and it made the seal to the bottom of the toilet give way, and so every time we flushed it, it just flushed right there.
It's my nephew did the same, and it was a pair of tidy whities.
yeah. It's Anyhow, so how are you, man?
I'm good. Usually, the internet breaks when I try and stream, so I'm glad that it happened in the physical world.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. So where are you right now?
I am in paradise, pretty much. I'm in Woodside, California, which is like just heavenly. It's one of my songs that I shared with you is Old Man, Neil Young. And so I'm like, I don't know, not walk. I guess it'd be a long walk to where Neil's ranch is, and like where the further bus, and all the Ken Kesey stuff happened, and miles from where the Grateful Dead were formed. It's like it's heavenly.
Now, does Neil still live there?
I don't think so. I don't know. I really don't know. I know that in the 70s, that was his main residence, and for a long time, it's a huge old farm up on Skyline Boulevard, which is the ridge that separates Silicon Valley from the Pacific Ocean. That's why it's sunny in Palo Alto and foggy in Half Moon Bay.
And so did you grow up there?
No, I grew up about an hour north of New York City, and Chappaqua, New York.
Okay.
But the only place I ever wanted to live, the places, were Vermont, Colorado, Alaska, and Northern California. And I've lived in Vermont, and I've certainly spent some time in Colorado and Alaska, for that matter. But I guess my vision of Northern California is not exactly what it is today, but it was off the grid, sort of.
Yeah. So on that note, we have a question from Tom Haviland. Tom, welcome. He said that he's from Vermont. He's got a copy of Lore on cassette.
Nice.
Yeah. So What Vermont bands did you like when you lived there? Who'd you get to see?
Well, the Fish, of course. Gosh, my early my freshman year in 1990, they played. I had heard of them, but I didn't know their music. I confused them with Fishbone, who was kind of happening at the time, and the campus was just a buzz. I had a fake ID, and they played this room called the Front and the Outback. And the Outback, you could be 18, and the Front, you had to be 21. And so my friends were all on the side, locked on the side, and I was like a foot away from the band, and they were a foot away from each other. And I found the music foreign, because
totally.
prior to Fish, it was kind of like, Frank Zappa was, or like, new age jazz or something. And then they played like Bathtub Gin or Bouncing Around the Room. And I think that's kind of the magic of it, is they challenge you.
Yeah.
And then they give you, some cotton candy but it's easy, revisionist history is certainly easier, but I had the feeling like, even though I didn't totally get the music, that I was witnessing history. There was like an energy in the room that was just like nothing I'd ever felt.
Yeah, you know what? That's totally true. People that are familiar with this channel know that I'm kind of late to this scene, and I definitely struggled getting into the music. It didn't come naturally for me from my background, but I did always know that the scene was a force of nature. I always knew that it was like the culture that behind it that drove it was very significant and passionate.
They light people up, they just do.
They do light people up, man.
And it's there's always this debate between them and the Grateful Dead. I think I don't even want to get into it, but what I wanted to say is like it's just so creative. Whether you like it or not, it's fine. I think Metallica is a fabulous band. I don't like listening to them, but I think they're fabulous, and I would say the same Fish. But I don't think that's what our friend wanted to know. There were bands like Motel Brown.
Motel Brown sounds like a band I need to know.
Yeah, they were funky. There was Belizbaha. One band that I wound up knowing quite well is Moon Boot Lover, who became Soul Live.
Yeah.
And then sort of morphed into Lettuce, and so I'm trying to think who else locally. The Pants were a really hit band when I was there, and there was mainly like sort of the indie rockers. There were three things, like the indie rockers, the jam banders, and then there were the lifers, and then like Dave Grippo, like working musicians. Dave Grippo and Russ Lawton, who plays with Trey now, both have Gordon Stone, who had passed, and those guys were like the elder statesmen who had schooled Fish and schooled us.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was awesome. It was a scene in the 90s, like a music scene.
Yeah. So how long were you there?
I was in Vermont 10 years. I went to school in 94. Yeah, I guess not quite 10. No, I went to school in 90. There you go. Yeah. And I left in like 2001. My name, don't worry, I know my middle name.
Yeah. So everybody that's just tuning in here, Reid, so I found you first, obviously through Assembly of Dust. I'm less familiar with Strange Folk, but I'm sure I'm going to get lots of people on here who are going to give me some requests for that. Why don't you give us a quick little synopsis for those who don't know, kind of your progression for those two bands and how, and kind of what you're up to now.
Sure. Well, we exchanged some songs, and I sent some recommendations, and
which we're gonna get to.
I just, as a teenager, I just was lit up by music. Really, starting with the Beatles.
Yeah.
And there was less to do, you know, in the 80s. There just was, right? The internet didn't exist, and it was like BB guns, BMX bikes, Atari, and
records.
Music. Yeah, records. And there was something magical that just bit me in it. I knew, like, since the first time I heard Hey Jude, or Let It Be actually was the song, that, like, I wanted to be a part of that. And so that was, you know, they say, like, if you envision what you want to happen in your life, it will.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
I just, like, it wasn't like, you know, say a mantra. It was like all I could think about. And I went to school really to find a band, find a girlfriend, ski.
And you ski?
Yeah.
Right on, man. I'm a
Yeah.
skier. I grew up skiing in Vermont, so I'm right down the road well, not right down, but in Maryland. And so I grew up, you know, driving to Vermont, driving to Sugarloaf in Maine. Like that was where we went, you know.
Which I have to confess, and I know it sounds condescending and snobby and sort of fair weather friendish, but it's a different sport once you ski out west. You know, it's like ice skating. Yeah. You're like, it's I guess unless I moved back to the East Coast, I would never ski there. I would go there, but I would never ski there.
Well, you know, so I have a lot of kids, and so
how many?
I have 4 boys.
Holy shit! I have 3 boys.
Well, there you go. You know,
we should start a band or a lacrosse team.
Yeah,
77.
Yeah, let's do it. So you know, where you are, do you drive to where? Tahoe to take them skiing? What do you do?
Yes, but I prefer Utah. I think Utah's
no, Utah's the best. I totally. So we took our boys to Snowbird 3 years ago, 3 winters.
Yeah.
And Salt Lake's so easy to fly in and out of. But what I was gonna say is, like, it's expensive and it's all the gear and everything. So if I can just, by the time if I leave my driveway, I can get to Okemo or in 7, maybe Stowe in like 8.5 or somewhere in there, weather depending. And, you know, for me to get to Utah, you know, drive to the airport and get them all through security and fly and then rent a car and then get up there. I mean, you can't touch Utah for consistency in my book.
Yeah, like a bad day there is still awesome.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just, so the way I do it on the East Coast is I book places and then I make sure that I have a cancellation policy. And if it doesn't snow, I don't go.
Yeah.
You know, it's that simple. Or because like this year, none of my kids were in school anyway, we just waited and saw if a big storm came and we would just go. But that didn't work out either because the East Coast is so fickle.
Yeah, we always went to Okemo because they had the best snow making at the time. You know, so it was the most consistent.
Yeah,
it's kind of boring, but it's consistent.
So anyway, so did you go to school for music?
No, I went to school for environmental science, and if I had chosen without the influence of parental guidance, I probably would have gone for like creative writing.
Okay.
And I came into music really as a lyricist first, a songwriter. You know, like I was birthed a songwriter. And anyway, so Strange Folk was a college band, and you know, like it took, not exceptionally, but it took, and we had a taste of it, and then we started playing around New England and Boston. It was funny, and after we became popular in other places, talk about fair weather friends, Burlington lit up, you know, like, and it spread. It was you know, this the jam band scene is a blessing and a curse, because once you have the stamp on your head, you can't lose it. But I'd say more blessing than curse, because it's just so networked, and people,
I'm learning,
they love the music. And so I don't know how it happened really, but I think it was the first or second time we showed up in Portland, Oregon, and this is before the internet. There was 900 people there, you know, first time. It was,
Yeah.
we were like, what?
And you're like, what are they doing here?
It was crazy. And what was weird too, and I, now looking back at it, I get it. But then we sort of expected it to happen everywhere, and you show up in, Ames, Iowa, which was supposed to be a hip place to play, and there'd be nobody,
Yeah.
And but anyhow, we developed a following, and a very devoted one that's stuck with us all these years. And I kind of, it's a garden variety thing. I just kind of got burnt on traveling. We got burnt on each other as individuals, not like hatefully, but just, anybody who's had a long-term girlfriend knows it's challenging, and let alone, with 4 dudes or 6.
Yeah.
And I felt like the music it felt stale to me. So, and looking back, it wasn't, it just felt that way. And to me, there was no reason to play unless you were having fun. And so I punted, and much to, I still kind of get some road rash for that on occasion. I'm so sorry, and I didn't play for a while, and then it's just in me. I couldn't not. And I booked some solo gigs, and ran into these guys in assembly just sort of haphazardly over the course of the summer, and the gigs were in the fall. And I just asked them to join me. I knew they were good because I played with them all.
Yeah.
And it just became a band. It sort of like, I sort of farted a band. It was awesome. and then the aim was different with the Assembly Dust. With Strange Folk, we were going for it, like, I think it's sort of backwards a little, looking at the value of music. Like, we were measuring ourselves on the size of the crowds and like the amount of money and stuff. And with Assembly of Dust, I sort of said, let's base our success based on enjoyment and the quality of the music. And
it's a great place to get to.
Yeah, because that's where it's at. Mm-hmm. You got to make a living, obviously, but I don't envy any real celebrities. Like, can you imagine going out to dinner and not being able to go out to dinner? It'd be terrible.
Yeah, it would be terrible. It would be terrible.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to all the moderators out there and everybody watching. I see David, Mr. Tonic, Angry Shoebox, our friend Sean Miller, Deborah, Kevin, and so Beware, the one that connected us, said he didn't know, but he's also an environmental scientist and engineer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, from school. So, guys, thank you so much again for tuning in here. And all right, so let's get into your track. So the first one you mentioned was the Beatles. Unfortunately, I can't play the studio version of that because it's going to take the stream down. I know for sure.
Okay. Is that the studio version I sent?
Yeah, well, yeah, I believe it is. It might be live, but it's on their channel.
Oh, I see.
So it's this is not an exact science.
Yeah.
Basically, we go by feel, and if it does go down, what will happen is I'll see it go down. You and I will stay up, and then it'll come back up, and then tomorrow I'll have to go trim out whatever blocked it, and then the stream will return for people to watch.
Well, I don't think we need to risk it. It's not imperative.
Well, it might happen with the other one. So I want to go to the second one. All right.
Okay.
So the second one you sent was one of my favorite songs of all time, and I know that you prefaced this as you kind of got into the jam scene as a songwriter, but this is Neil Young, Old Man, and I don't know what year this is.
It's 1971, I think.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen this, but let's pull it up here. You have a Neil Young story?
It's one. It's a humble brag is I've met many of my idols. I have not met Neil, but this is a good. It's close enough. I opened for David Crosby for a string of gigs, solo acoustic, And the first night, I played a Neil tune because I figured it's David Crosby, and it was a theater run, like 1,500 to 3,000 seats, and everyone's sitting there silent. It was so awesome, just like waiting for you. And I played "Comes a Time," which is a beautiful song, and it's one that I play a lot. And
hell yeah.
And I got off the stage, and my front of house engineer came back / road manager came back, and he's like, Crosby's guys just said if you play another Neil song, you're off the tour.
That is funny.
It was.
All right, with that, we'll do a little bit of Neil Young, Old Man. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Sorry about the volume discrepancy.
This is a new song I wrote about my ranch. I live on a ranch in California.
Is this the same ranch that you were talking about before, by the way?
Yeah, he's like, a mile from where I am. Yeah.
And still owns it, but just doesn't necessarily live there.
I don't know, actually. I just don't know. But I know he had it for, a gazillion years. You can look out my window and kind of get a glimpse of it.
Okay. Right on.
It's like beautiful oaks, and it's unreal.
All right, let's do it.
I just bought it a while ago from these two lawyers. And there was an old man living on it. I don't know if you have things like that here, like foremen on ranches.
I love the story before the
It's
song.
like an old caretaker takes care of all the cows, fences and everything. So I wrote this song for him.
What a great change that is.
Yeah. All the I think this one's drop D,
look
right?
at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Oh man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Oh man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. My life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. I want look in my eyes and you can tell that's true.
Yeah, man.
Song gives me chills.
It really does. For me it would probably be Harvest, I would think, but I would have to have a Neil Young album on a desert island if if I had to choose 10 records. I would say Neil Young Harvest has to be on there. There's so many things about it. But this intro for everybody, I saw a bunch of comments asking about what this is. Hold on a second. Now I don't have my guitar on me because it just didn't work out. But I'm pretty sure he's in drop D, but he's going to an F major triad up top with the D, and then which is a minor third above the D, and then going back to a straight D major. So without getting too heady for everyone, the D major has an F sharp in it, and then you're going to an F major chord, which is essentially it's a minor third up. So it's as an abrasive a switch you can make between major and minor, pretty much as you can do with the basic triad. And it's the intro to the damn song. It's so cool. It's one of those things where it's like, when I think of when people say, like when I went to GIT, like I remember sitting in the first auditorium and the person came out, she's like, you have to learn the rules to be able to break the rules and to throw them out.
This is speaking English,
Yeah, like this is one of these is a perfect example of that, where it's like, you would never do that. You would never, you look at it on paper, or you try to explain it to somebody, and you're like, these things shouldn't work. But damn it, how cool does that sound? What an intro.
Yeah.
And
to me, like, the open tuning does it, right? Because you get the resonance with the D like you would with an E, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. And you get those weird chords when you're not even trying. You just slide, triads around, and you get all these weird inversions. But and then there's just his approach, which is so unique. It's just like, it's the chunky clunky, and with the just haunting, it's not even beautiful, it's just haunting voice. And what he has that really sort of unites all the, not all, but most of the musicians that I dig, is like, he's courageous in putting himself in the music. Like, he's there. Yes. And that's really what it is,
Yes.
He's in it, and he's brave about whatever he has to show you.
Yeah. I mean, think of a song that is on the same level with what you're talking about as like Needle and the Damage Done.
I actually almost sent you that one, but it's just so depressing. I thought I wouldn't kill everybody's buzz.
I know, but
that was the song that got me.
Yeah. Oh, it's got to be the song that gets everyone, because I think at the end of the day, we all want to hear the story. We all want to connect with the person, with the character, whether we're reading it, whether it's in a song, whether it's in a movie, or whatever it is. And that is one of those perfect capturings of just all of the emotions that you must be feeling, and you're right, he's like right in the center of it. You hear it and you're like, you couldn't write that unless you're this person.
Yeah, and there's something
and to share it like that and have it be one of the biggest tunes, like, it's just mind blowing.
It is. I actually heard somebody else play it, like a kid.
Yeah.
At a talent show. I can't remember his last name. His first name was Dan. And he went out and played that tune. And I didn't even know. Yeah, I didn't even. He was like, I don't know, 14 or something. And I was like 12. And it was a talent show. And I was like, what is that? And, but there was something else I was going to say. Like, yeah, the topic is really dark. So to your point, it's not only musically challenging, but I think emotionally. And then, but what I was going to say is there's an effortlessness to it.
Absolutely.
So you talk about being in the flow, we talk about being in the flow playing live a lot.
Yeah.
But there's something, you can feel it with some songs where, like, that song came out easy for them, like it just.
Yeah, that is a great point.
It just feels that way. It just feels right.
That is a really, okay, so I feel like, so some of my favorite songs feel that way, but I love like the Leonard Cohen style, where he works on it for years before it comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I love that dichotomy of songwriting, where like some people, like some of my favorite songs, like you said, you just know they came out in one setting, and it's just like, it just boom, and there's other ones that take years to be chiseled out of the rock. It's fascinating.
I respect both, and just like for me personally, I tend to come back to the stuff that has emotional resonance, where the players are really emotionally available.
Absolutely.
But like I said at the head of the show, I respect Metallica. Now I don't listen to them with regularity, but Steely Dan is a band that's not really about like blind emotion. It's about composition.
Absolutely.
And they succeed in that, and so like you say, or even songwriters, Paul Simon, right? He's famous for spending years in the studio, and what's interesting about him actually is they feel effortless too, but that one, I don't know, it feels conversational. There's a difference.
I totally agree. I'm such a huge Neil Young fan. All right, which one do you want to do next, and why?
I got to remember. Well, it's a tell, but given that we're not necessarily going to do the Beatles one, I sent. What else I sent? Oh yeah, let's do the band. I chose one that's a little left of center. It's right of center as the stage is. Stage Light, which is a Rick Danko song, and for the same reason, like they all had it to some degree. Mainly Levon and Rick sang, but they all had that earnest nature about them. But Rick really did. Like he was just like, I'm kind of freaked out, man. In life in general. Anyway, I think it's a great song, and hopefully it doesn't bring down your stream.
Yeah, if it does, we'll figure it out. But so this is the band's Stage Front Live, and this. I'm sure everybody that's watching has seen this. But The Last Waltz, if for some crazy reason you haven't seen this, you have to watch it. It really, I mean, it's could be the best music, DVD documentary ever. Certainly in the conversation.
It's epic. I was like 13 surfing channels, and it was on PBS. And I didn't know who the band was, and they have all these guests, right? And I couldn't figure out why they kept letting the backing band play in between all these celebrities. Anyway, Stage Fright.
Let's do it. Yeah, dude, it has been a minute since I've seen that.
So good. I mean,
it's so.
There's so many good songs on that performance. Theirs, and then of course like the guests. I mean. The Joni Mitchell, Neil Young,
Van Morrison.
Oh, Van Morrison is epic.
It's so epic.
He does this big karate chop and then just walks off the stage like Prince.
Yeah. He's looking a little rough in that one.
I know. He's like all pudgy in a What do you call that? Even like a.
Was it like a purple,
jumpsuit.
Like a fuchsia jumpsuit or something like that?
It was a jumpsuit, yeah. And it's like his chest hair is coming out, and he's all like, his moves are all like crushed up. It's not a good look, but he killed it.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's another one. I mean, I don't know what it is with all the Canadians, but Van Morrison, such a big fan, man.
And Joni Mitchell, geez.
Oh God, yeah, you can't.
She's I'm so cliche. I mean, it's weird. I grew up in the 80s, and I did Talking Heads and had my Van Halen record but I was looking, and I remember too, it felt like it was so long ago. The 70s, when you're 14, you're like, wow, that was forever ago. But now I'm like, it's not crazy that music captured me. It was it had happened like 8 years prior to my birth, not like an eon.
Yeah, Garth Hudson and Richard Made. I mean, what a duo. Angry Shoebox, absolutely.
Yeah, and just to me, like as a target for what I would like to be. Yeah, that's kind of it, and I think it's interesting, like. There are a lot of bands that feel that way across different genres, like a lot of indie rock bands. I mean, the band is like the band, besides the Beatles to me. I mean, totally. I love the Grateful Dead, but they're almost like, like a better, musically anyway, or for the non-hippie, for the non-noodler, they're a better version of the Grateful Dead.
I mean, I certainly see why you would say that, for sure.
I like the Dead better, but I think it's like the execution and the feel and the songwriting is like just more consistent, the Dead.
Yeah, I would, I love the band, and I am, one of the ones that personally really prefers the Levon Helm led tracks.
Oh yeah.
There's an authenticity to the draw in his voice and how he sings and plays drums with the feel that I just.
Oh my God!
I just I'm in love with, but
that rigid snare drum. It's so awkward looking, and yet and it feels, every song feels like it's about to fall off. Fall off the tracks, and it doesn't.
I love that so much, but for my money, I just feel like the songs in particular that Robert Hunter penned are that's to me what pushes it over the edge.
Don't get me started. I'm just trying to put an anchor in so I don't give my ace away, right at the beginning. Better wasn't really what I meant. It's like a more concise and I think a more accessible version of the Grateful Dead, and they were pulling from the same, influences. So it's not surprising. You line up Little Feat, and others, but I just, there isn't a single song that they play that I don't like, not one.
No, I would completely agree, and I love also having this conversation from a songwriter perspective. I mean, I just so many, like the night they drove Old Dixie down. I see like the painting the picture of the Kane family. You know what I mean? And step by step the progression. That to me is very similar to what Robert Hunter would do. God, what is that darn song where all the kids?
Brown Eyed Women.
Yeah.
Lala Jones.
Yeah, right. To me, those are it's like the same exact kind of song, and it's just two different sides to it. I love those storytelling songs, where you try to see the group of people in different phases of their life. I love that stuff.
I think if I look at the three we've covered so far, Neil and we're dancing around the Grateful Dead, and then the band, Hunter's style of putting aside the music for a second, of lyrics, and Neil's actually have something that I love them all, but the band it's literal storytelling, and Neil is the least literal of the three. He just kind of painted a mood. You're not always sure what he's talking about. Yes. And then Hunter actually was a lyricist, like Jerry played guitar. He would play around the melody, counterpoint, and lyrically Hunter was the same way. So Brown Eyed Women is a fairly literal one, but a lot of them you don't know what the hell he's talking about.
So it's so true. That's so true. And you're so right about Neil just painting the mood of the picture. You know what I mean? It's almost like
a landscape.
It's almost the sound of the sky.
Yeah, soundscape.
Yeah. That's exactly how I would. Yeah, you're so right about that.
And what's trippy is when you go to the Pacific side of where I am, it looks like his music feels. I swear to God,
it feels more Neil Young.
It does. It feels like you're either in a Van Gogh painting or a Neil Young song, one or the other. It's really light and floaty. It's so cool.
I love it, man.
Yeah, so that's the band, and they influenced me later in my life just because they're concise, and because I am a songwriter in a jam band, and so there's always this balance that I'm looking for, which is I'm not a ripping guitar player, but I love it.
Yeah, dude.
Within limits, like there are times when I'm just on stage and times when I'm, in a show where I'm kind of like, okay, wrap it up.
Well, so I lean much more to your vein. Like one of the things that I love is when I see bands like obviously the Dead, where they go and they come back, but at the end of the day, it's anchored in tunes. It's anchored in real solid songs that that kind of bring you back to baseline, or bring you back to the story, and it's not all about improvisation, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really important ingredient where like so many bands in this quote unquote genre that I hear, they have my attention for 10, 15, 20 minutes or so, but unless you come back and like you give me a story about someone or like something that gets stuck in my ear on the way home, it just doesn't it doesn't like hook me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it also depends if you're, at a show, witnessing it, listening to a show, right?
Yes.
And so at a show, I'm a lot more liberal or even playing one, because you're in the moment, and you are telling a story. Like I was listening to some jam the other day, and I kind of started listening, and I was almost annoyed because it was sort of noodly, and they weren't saying anything. And then it started speaking to me, and like I caught my attention, and it grew over 20 minutes, and I was engulfed. But it's a different listening experience, and you've got to be committed to it, as opposed to. But anyway, I like both. It's the hot stays hot, and the cool stays cool.
I do. Deborah wants to know what you think of Jason Isbell.
I love Jason. I think
so do
he's. I was talking about music this morning and saying that, like so many things, technology and I don't know, culture too has changed so much. And in the 70s, I think what I love about it is that authenticity, and that the pop stars were musicians, first. Yeah. And not celebrities, not packaged celebrity, with the exception of maybe the Doors. Right. And
you would put the Doors in that category?
Yeah, I you know what? I heard Jerry Garcia rip on them once, and I could never listen to them again because.
Oh no, come on! You gotta. I know we're going off a tangent here. We started on Isbell, so I'm a huge Doors fan. You don't think? I mean, I get that they were packaged, but Jim Morrison. I mean, I don't know, man.
I like the Doors. And how can you not? It's every song. But Jason is. But what I was going to say is, he's what the 70s were, and I love that he's had the success he has, and he's able to be as authentic as he is.
Very, very much so.
And it's crazy. Like in some cases, the talent gets hidden behind the packaging. Like Justin Timberlake's a fantastic musician,
yes,
and Bruno Mars. And it gets lost in the gloss.
Oh my God! I remember. Just a random side note. When I went to GIT, Bruno, I don't even know if I know his real name. Is my age, or thereabouts, and my buddy Ari, I forget what he goes by professionally now, had a studio out there, and I remember I went there one day to record some blues track. I don't know, 2006 or something like that, and this dude Bruno was sitting there smoking a blunt on the center console right there on the main thing. He goes, "This guy's about to be the biggest kid in the whole world." Mm-hmm. And of course, when you're in LA and you're 22, everyone says that about every single person you know. But of course, he turned out to be basically like the biggest act in the whole world. But he was tremendously talented. I mean, I'm so with you on that.
He's amazing. I met the guy, or one of the guys who was who signed him, and I was in his office at Atlantic, and I was sitting on the couch, and he's like, "That's the couch that Bruno Mars auditioned for me on." And he said he came in with an acoustic guitar and played 3 tunes, and he was like, "That's the next I think he said that's the next Michael Jackson, but he apparently just on acoustic guitar blew him away, and it doesn't surprise me, you know. Yeah. But my point is that they get lost in the gloss, and Jason Isbell hasn't. And there's there are a few others. I think Chris Stapleton. I like drawing a blank. The more psychedelic country guy.
Daniel Donato?
No, come on, somebody. He blew off, like he shunned the CMAs.
Oh, Sturgill.
Yeah, Sturgill.
Sturgill's the man.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's like the Willie. If Bruno's the new Michael Jackson, then he's the new Willie Nelson.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of both those guys. And talk about guys just like Jason who put themselves in their songs a lot. Jason, Jesus, man. He's in every inch of his songs. It's painful at some points, but it's unbelievable. Well,
that's something else interesting. I haven't had this critique of Jason, but there's an art to putting yourself into the song in a way that's unguarded, but not like whiny singer-songwriter. So like Sean Colvin, who I also liked, Diamond in Number, but the class I'm talking about, I really can't stomach much of that because it's like, what I think it is? It's like manufactured emotion as opposed to authentic. Maybe and it's almost too emotional. You're like, turn it down. So I don't know what it is, but there's something about I always use the word beautiful and badass. Yeah. And it's too beautiful, I need a little grit. And I feel that way about people, actually, like cocktail parties. It's like, if you haven't booted on your shoes at least once in your life from, drinking too much, I don't trust
you. Can't trust you.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
so before we go into our next track, though, what do you have going on? What can we, what are you seeing from your lens?
Musically?
Yeah. Are you recording anything?
Yeah.
Are you planning on going on tour soon? What do you see from your side of the world?
Yeah. I still feel sort of paralyzed by COVID, to be honest, and not afraid, but the notion of touring is still feels a little premature to me. It's coming, but I have a record. I had put down basics the week before COVID did, and finished it over the year. And it was actually, I used Neil Young Harvest as one of the references, stylistically, but it's really live sounding. It sounds like a bunch of guys playing music in a room together. You can hear the room, you can hear the drums, it's not all compressed. You can hear the voice, like the saliva, and that's what I was going for. And I wanted to make a singer-songwriter record. And what my interpretation, what I was saying is I wanted to make something that was intimate and that was really, it sounds self-involved, but that hung on the vocals and wasn't a Guitar Hero song, because most of mine are, and it's cool. I love it. But I feel like I'm a songwriter trapped in a jam band, or I felt that way for most of my career. And I wanted to do the singer-songwriter thing. And
when you say that though, does that mean you felt like you couldn't have a 3-minute song? What does that mean? You felt trapped in that spot?
Yeah, because people come with an expectation and they want to see, and you know what, like I said, I love it. They want to see improvisation. They, I think to the extreme, sometimes people judge a song by they're like, they played for 42 minutes. But I'm being, hyperbolic to illustrate the expectation. But I felt like the guys that I was in the band with were expecting it, and the audience was. And I always knew, it's like retirement almost. I always knew I had the singer-songwriter in me, and it was there if I wanted it. And but I'd never done it. And it turns out I was afraid. You know, it's scary. It's like it's more of you in it.
Yes, yes.
What's interesting though is it's a rock record, and it because of the guys that you know, played on it, and this guy Greg Licano from the Mother Hips, who's a great. They're like, I think they're top 100 rock band ever, you know, and much like Strange Folk, just never sort of, you know, made it from the minor leagues to the major leagues, but they're amazing. So Greg Licano from the Mother Hips produced it. And it's got actually Jim Bogias from Counting Crows playing drums, which is a lot of the success of the record. But it was rocking. Yeah. And yet it's a singer-songwriter. Like, it has that intimacy. And so it's funny, like, I had a perception of what it was, which is kind of what I was saying I don't like. You know, like yeah. Very few guys succeed like Neil do or Willie just playing a guitar and like killing it. And this has a mix, but it's somewhere between what we're describing. You know, Willie Nelson, Neil Young, the band, and you know, it might, you know, trickle into Jan Van Lent a little.
So where can people find that?
Nowhere yet. The single's up. It's called Angels and Alibis, or the first track. I mean, single's kind of a stupid thing to say, but there's the single's up on everywhere that music is found, and it's called Angels and Alibis, and it's a ballad that sounds sort of like Willie Nelson meets George Harrison meets Jerry or Robert Hunter.
Right on.
Yeah.
Do you feel like playing one?
Sure. I'm not prepared, but I'll you mean live?
Or we can pull up a YouTube video. You know,
no, I'll grab a guitar.
Yeah, look, the people are look. He's saying, "Can we get you to play?"
Can't promise it's in tune, but yeah, give me a second. Maybe why don't we pull up a video and then I'll. Should we do that, or do you want to?
I think they want you to play it if you're up for it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Hang on.
All right, you're the man. See, look, you guys got power. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is cool. I'm really enjoying these conversations. Adam A. Bain, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, Nicholas, totally agree with that. Breakfast for dinner, once a week, that's a lot, but I do love it. Oh, look, U.S. Elite Steve going for it.
All right, I'm back.
All right, he's back.
I don't even know if the guitar's in tune.
You can tune, no worries.
Yeah, we can tune. I saw Doc Watson play once.
He's my favorite of all time, man.
Yeah, he's the Godfather, and he, you know, he kept on stopping to tune, and he was tuning by ear, obviously.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, he was blind, so that's why.
Yeah.
And he said, "We tune because we care." So I always cop that line when I'm bothering people tuning.
Man, Doc Watson absolutely changed my life.
Me too. Why? Yeah, why?
Well, for me, I came from a very, rock and roll, heavy metal, background. And
we talking Whitesnake or?
No, like Pantera. Yeah. And obviously Van Halen and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Whitesnake.
Whitesnake. Striper. Night Ranger. Right. Exactly. Megadeth, all that good stuff. And for whatever reason, that's what I did for the first 15 years of playing guitar, and basically had no idea of anything that was happening outside of that world. And when I went to GIT and when I moved out to California, someone gave me 2 CDs. They gave me an Old and In the Way CD, and
Yes.
they gave me a Doc Watson CD. And I found out that one, did I not only love the songs and the authenticity and just the virtuosity of it, but the actual guitar playing, a lot of it translated, believe it or not. Like a lot of those like really fast metal licks, those like Van Halen style like triad, movement things. Those work in acoustic environments. They really.
Well, they're descended from it, right? I mean, it's like.
Well, see, so I was working backwards.
Yeah, you were just going back in time. I did the same thing, kind of, because like you, what was available was Van Halen for me, right? And Rolling Stones' Tattoo You, and then and the Who, I guess, but I didn't do Pantera and stuff, but same thing. It was like discovering Doc Watson. You're like, wow, I kind of get it now. And if you think about it, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say it. It's like, what is rock and roll? It's a blend of Appalachia and blues electrified.
That is it. And the one thing that really struck a chord with me, a note with me, if you will, that Doc did, that I also fell in love with in the Old and In the Way records. Fiddle lines, man. Vassar Clements is my favorite improviser of all time.
Yep.
I am floored by his virtuosity in his fiddle playing, and like the back and forth between really complex stuff to just hammering the melodies. And Doc Watson played fiddle lines on the guitar. Like he made that a thing. And so I feel like I've forever, like, since I started going down that road, I've been trying to kind of mesh those two worlds of like, can I get that vocal but still like that fiddle quality in my lead lines, but still keep that like aggressiveness of like my background. And like
right.
that's kind of like that. So like, yeah, those two records changed my life, because literally I didn't listen to anything distorted or whatever, like for 15 years of playing guitar. I mean, that was the world I lived in.
Those, even from where I was coming from, those are really stripped down acoustic records. And what's funny is I went to this record shop. What was the movie Jack Black was in, where he was the record clerk?
Oh, I don't remember.
But it was like. But
that. I know what you mean. Yes.
And there were two nerds in there, and you kind of like told them what you liked, and they would direct you to something. And those were two of like 5 records that I remember them steering. The other one was Uncle Tupelo, which eventually became Sons of Molko. But those two, they were like, oh yeah, you're into all that shit. You should check these guys out. They're kind of like the High Fidelity. Yeah, High Fidelity. Yeah, what a great flick.
All right, they're ready for you to play one. I've been gabbing enough.
Okay. I haven't played this one in a while, so we'll see if I'll probably fudge a chord or two. But Angels and Alibis.
All right.
Let your imagination lay down and take a rest. I'll do my best to do the rest. You can only save the world but once or twice a week, when angels and alibis are stepping on your feet. So let's make for the country. Let's head for the coast. The boldness of bold fools is the road I travel most. Lately I've been living crazy, stammered, stoned, or just plain lazy. Lady, maybe someday play it straight, but let's just wait. There's a great and unsung army flying green with a hummingbird, fighting for existence with the flight of every word. Now, dreamers don't need deadlines, don't need jet airlines to fly. When angels and alibis walking by their side. So let's make for the country, let's head for the coast. The boldness of bold fools is the road I travel most. Lately I've been living crazy, stammered, stoned, just plain lazy. Lady, maybe someday we'll play it straight, but let's just wait. Let's make for the country, let's head for the coast. The boldness of bold fools is the road I travel most. Lately I've been living crazy, stammered, stoned, or just plain lazy. Lady, maybe someday we'll play straight. Hey, hey. Let your imagination lay down and take a rest. I'll do my best to do the rest. Mm-hmm. Lately I've been living crazy, stammered, stoned, or just plain lazy. Lady, maybe someday. Lady, maybe someday. Lady, maybe someday. But let's just wait.
Yeah, dude.
Angels and Alibis.
Dude, thank you for doing that. That was great. You had some great changes in there. I love the whole play it straight tag.
Thanks. That's you know, you can call out the influences there probably, but but the truth is actually I took my boys to see Willie Nelson, and I was showing them some of the cliches that Willie uses over and over again, and then I was like, those are fucking cool.
Yeah.
So I borrowed a few.
Well, on that note, should we play the Willie track you picked?
Yeah, and this is actually the song that I kind of copped for Angels and Alibis.
No, I mean that was great. I loved the key change in there.
That's a Willie move too, right? You know.
Well, that one like that B7 and G. I love that change. You know, those are.
Yeah, it's a red button move, right? The key change. You're like, push the red button.
You know, and I feel like, I mean, maybe he does, but maybe he does get the credit he deserves as an actual improviser. But I mean,
Willie, oh my word!
But he does really play a mean guitar, like just one note at a time, connecting the chords. He crushes it.
But he's got such a unique voice and style and notes that he picks. And it's like, and again, it feels like it's going to crash. Like he's not going to land it. And he does. I think
so much chromatic stuff. Like, he knows where he's going though, but you're not sure he's going to get there.
That's right. You're kind of like, I think he's going to fall. I love it.
Yeah. I'm such a huge Willie fan too. All right, so One of the best tunes of all time here. Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain.
It is.
It really is. But that was great, man. I loved that tune.
Thank you.
So when does the whole thing come out?
I don't know. You know, I got it was coming out, and then
COVID.
You know, I thought, well, it'll be great as something for people in COVID, but you know, there's just, I don't know, there was something off about it, and I think part of it is that you want to go play the songs and connect with people around it, and it just felt premature. So soon.
Okay.
I got final mixes today.
All right. Well, everybody, stay tuned, and I think I put the link to Assembly of Dust in the description. But if there's any other links you want me to add, I'll add. So if you guys are watching in the future, click below. So here we go. I haven't seen this in forever. I don't even know if I've seen this one, but I've listened to this song.
I'm inspired by the shirt, really, is why I chose it.
You know, can we bring back the tank top? I'm ready. My kids are doing it.
In the twilight glow, I see her. Blue eyes crying in the rain.
There's delivery, man.
And when we kissed goodbye and parted.
He's barely trying.
I know.
And he's barely playing. I mean, the band, when he plays live, they're so quiet.
Meet again.
Well, and like, if you watch this beginning again, like, the band is so quiet, and so he's playing these nylon strings, and like, you can hear every little inch of vibrato. It's not like a lot of these older singer-songwriter types where like they're like the actual guitar is buried in the mix, and you see him doing these big strumming movements, but like the band is making all the thing. Like, he's got juice in the PA.
Yeah, no, he's leading the band. It's not like it's not
every cue.
Yeah.
But just watching it, like, you can watch his hands. You can see, like, you hear every movement of the vibrato on that old neck. You hear it?
Yeah. It's like Mark Knopfler. You know, it's that kind of tone.
And when we kissed goodbye,
you can just hear everything.
All those chromatic.
I knew we'd never meet again. Love is like a dying ember. And only memories remain.
He's so ahead of the change.
And through the ages, I'll remember. Blue eyes crying in the rain.
I mean, he's so ahead of it.
There it is, folks. Chills.
Dude.
I love you, really.
Someday when
I mean, come on, man.
Willie Nelson for president.
I don't even think people understand what they just saw right there. Like, that is so good.
I know.
It's so...
It's redonkulous.
It's redonkulous, and it's so, like, undersold. I can't think of another word for it. Like, it's just like, of course he's going to land it, but just, even in the verses, just all the chromatic stuff. I mean, he's literally singing like 4 bars ahead of where the change would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the band is just waiting.
And they feel it.
And they feel it, and he just sells it. And then he goes in the lead part, and it's like the perfect mix of his vocal melody and like a little cascading little double stop riff. And then he finishes it off with like a chromatic chord movement, and then it's and when we go back yonder, it's so fucking good. It's so good.
It is so good. There's something struck me as you were saying that he sells it. It's like it's counterintuitive in a way. And when we went to see him, and my kids are my 3 boys are 9 to 14, and they really liked Lucas opened, and he's rocking, and he's active, and he's running around the stage, and they liked it, and they like rocking things. And I was curious to see if like Willie would capture them, right? I suspected he would, and it was at Frost Amphitheater here, so it's like 5,000 people, and they were kind of boogieing when Lucas was up, and then Willie took over, and he's 80 whatever now, and the place went hush, and every hair stood up on my body, and my kids got it, like and so
they could feel it.
They could feel it, and I guess what I was reflecting on is like kind of. It's related to what we were talking about, but dynamics is another. We were talking about, red buttons, and when you come out playing at 100, you have nowhere to go.
That's right.
And so, playing quietly, it forces the listener in, right? It pulls the listener in, and then you have tons of headroom to go. So, it's as a kid, like, again, it was a hard lesson to learn. I learned that lesson from the Grateful Dead because that's one of their red buttons is like the quiet to loud to quiet. And Willie, he never gets screaming loud, but that quietness really is rocking in a way. It's what pulls people in. And then to your point, I said it's like Mark Knopfler, because I agree. You can hear the tone of all the instruments, but primarily of his guitar and his voice. And it's like it's screamingly quiet.
No, and the arrangement too, just the forced. So I've seen Willie a few times. I don't want to say forced, but purposefully removing a lot of the instrumentation, even though you have that big band. It's not always about the volume, but just removing all the other sounds that you can hear. So it's like you're in the room with the person, and then it expands to this big thing, but then you keep going back into the room with the person, and getting the person to mix it right. It's great shows. Great shows.
Want to hear something funny?
Do it.
Let your imagination lay down and take a rest. I'll do my best to do the rest. Uh-huh. Right?
Yep.
It's Willie Nelson. Let your imagination.
Sean.
I mean, I can't do Willie Nelson, but I definitely was copying him.
No, I love it. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Reid, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know we have one more track to do, devoted to Mariah. Welcome. Good to see you, Guitar Dog.
How do most people come to see you people shred on this, right?
No, actually. Perhaps I'm actually not even the best one to answer that question, but so the community is one predominantly based on, guitar players trying to get better, trying to motivate and inspire each other to keep trying to get better. But we do a lot of songwriting stuff, talk a lot about lyrics. It's mostly just what got us hooked on music in the first place and going down all the different rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. The guitar is like the anchor because that's like my, what I do.
Guitar is the anchor of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Too.
it is the anchor, but I mean, but no, it's believe it or not, there's not much shredding that happens on this channel. I mean, if anything, I get lots of messages and emails about how I don't like play enough, and that my guests don't play enough. So it's I don't know.
Well, it's cool that it is neat to. I mean, something I do all the time is sit and talk about music. I mean, it's
Like
it's
we used to do.
yeah. Well, I still do, mainly because I'm not all that interested in sports, so I wouldn't have anything else to say, except to like bitch about my eyesight getting worse or something. I don't know. But I love it, and I think it's more important now than ever because there's so much distraction, and there's like so much that separates us, and the internet is supposed to be the great connector. But I don't know that it's realized its full promise or what the shape is. But I do know that I think music is a constant, regardless of medium and internet or not, in connecting people, horizontally around the world.
Yeah, I obviously agree. At the end of the day, it brings out emotions, and the storytelling connects people to people, and the internet, I believe, is more good. It brings more good than bad. I mean, it's been a crazy year, and we all want to get back in person and hear live music. But I can just say from my own perspective that being able to meet people like you and being able to connect with the people in this community through music, with the internet being the vehicle to do so, has been tremendous. It's great. Like it's unbelievable that we get to do this.
Yeah.
It is.
And it is. And there's so many cool things about it. It's like, but one that struck me is like, I worked for a company for a while called eMusic, it was like iTunes before iTunes. It was all independent music. Okay. And I found all this random, I found the Staple Singers there. Like, I just didn't know about them. But there's a jazz player who's another influence of mine, even though I don't play jazz and I can't play, a lick compared to him. But Bill Evans is another one that I would put in this class.
Yes.
Who he put all of himself in the music, and I've listened to him for years, and I feel like I know him, and he doesn't sing a lick. He just plays.
Yeah.
And so, like you were describing how you try to, like, inform your playing with your voice, and it's a mixture of the old and the new. And he did that, like, by just inserting himself in that authentic way. And what's trippy is, like, I should learn something about him. So I read a book about him, a biography, and then I watched one. And everyone says the same thing. It's like what made him so amazing. And he's like kind of Willie of piano. Like he wrote Blue on Green,
yeah.
Which Miles Davis made famous. But Miles gave him 4 chords, and then Bill went and wrote it. And like he's like the Willie Nelson kind of jazz.
Yeah.
Like so if you're looking for my influences, that's one. And it's another guy who, like, you can go meet by listening to.
Yeah. One of our community members and friends is a songwriter. Sean Miller wants to pitch you a song. Can I get him to pitch you a song?
Yeah, man.
All right. I'll connect you, Sean. You can send me a song and I'll send it to Reid.
I once bought the Broken Bridge, so
Oh, what are we drinking? We're having an RAR, which is a local Maryland pale ale here.
And I'm drinking some kind of Napa white wine in a coffee cup.
Are you?
Yeah.
So you're being sneaky out there, sir.
I am. I'm not shy. It's just it wasn't my stream, and I didn't want to scare anybody.
No, we have no rules here. All right. So, last track. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. We saved your Dead track for the end. Tell me why you picked why you picked.
It's, we set this up for the listeners as like, talking about music and some of the songs that influenced me. And I'm grateful that they're my favorite band. By a zillion. And Eyes of the World is just one of my favorite tunes. It's upbeat. There's when Jerry comes in and sings, it feels like the sun is shining. And then 1977 is just one of the best years. So that's why I picked this song.
Now you sent me one from '74.
Oh, I didn't mean to, but anyways, also
okay.
The 70s in general, 72 to 70, 72 to 77 is like the peak.
Right on. All right, well, let's play a little bit of this. This is Eyes of the World from Winterland, 1974. Dude, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Thank you. I was really flattered, and I really enjoyed getting to know you, man. And if you would, tell us. I'd like listening to you talk about the song and explain it. Yeah. So tell us some of what's going on.
Well, I don't have my guitar with me for this one, but I've had so many requests for an Eyes for the World, and I must say this is one of the tunes I haven't learned yet. Because there's like so many of these tunes.
There are.
There really, really are. So let's play this, and we'll go a couple minutes, and we'll go from there. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And make sure you hit the link in the description. Make sure you follow, subscribe, hit up Assembly of Dust, all those good things. Now, who's trying to get? Did you give the link out to somebody, Reid?
Me?
Yeah.
I posted the link.
To enter this stream?
Oh shit! I might have. I didn't mean to. I think I meant to post the live one, but I think it probably.
There's people trying to enter the stream.
Oh yeah, wrong link. Classic.
Somebody called. Here, let's take a chance. Someone called Beavis. Oh, but they don't even have a camera on, so Beavis not happening. All right, here we go.
I posted the wrong link, man. Sorry.
Oh, that's because I've been seeing people come in and out of the. I guess you call it the green room or whatever. Like the back.
Yeah. My bad. I did it while we were talking.
Hilarious. Here we go. Let's bump it up a little bit.